knows. But at the same time, it's like Arteta, he's the one that's going to be coaching him, playing him. So he also needs. So it's meant to be a collaboration in the modern day. It's meant to be a collaboration. But yeah, I just think Arteta cannot pretend like, or people that obviously defend him, the diehards, they cannot pretend like as if this
Arteta sexuals, man. Let's not mix our words, man.
They can't pretend like as if he is oblivious to what is coming through the door. And
can't behave like he's a damsel in distress, man.
Yeah, he's not a damsel in distress. He's been given a lot of players, been given quite a bit of money. He's chosen, he's got Calafiori, he's got Declan Rice, he's even had some hell end youth, incredible, players come through, which he's obviously given the chance to. But that is also credit to the youth coaches and the head of youth development. Not every manager has a Lewis Skelly and a Wanyeri to come and I'm not talking about
you lot don't. Come watch out.
Right now, no.
Wanyeri, we're coming for that. Well, there's a certain chili done. We're coming for him, man. Foden, you're not safe, man.
Oh my god.
We'll get into that.
I remember when he used to be telling me, "Yo, you Callum us in the door, you're not safe." So I'm gonna sit this one out.
I can't lie.
It's good to see you've moved on.
I rate him. I want him at Arsenal now, man.
It's good to see. Oh, really? Fuck it.
Yeah. He's
come full circle now.
Are you seeing he's playing out wide? Like Martinelli. I love Martinelli, but I'm done with the slander. I mean, the propaganda there. Trossard's not the guy, bro. Hudson, I might even have a Lango. I'm desperate, bro. I'm desperate.
Now I know where
Chris Wood is allowed to play for us.
But it's just. He has to if he's going to take on that power, then he's under even more pressure, because you can't take on more responsibility and not deliver. It's like me saying, I'm the CEO of the company, I've got more responsibility, more calls, more say. But then the pressure is the same as when I was a standard
a summer intern.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. If you don't want the CEO pressure, then step down from the CEO responsibilities. Make sure that you're just the coach if you don't want all that extra smoke.
That's what I'm saying. That's why for me, I've got more time for Arteta than the ownership, but I think the gloves are off. I think everybody's involved in it. I think everybody has to share the failings and the success. And I kind of look at it in that at the end of the day, we're second in it. I'm not here to scream from the rooftops but a second, but whatever we've done in our lives has got us here. How do we get over the line? Arteta, one love for the rebuild and the difficult decisions and the mistakes and the inexperience and times you stood firm in your principles. You've got us to this point, but it's over the line. There's been 3 years now where there's been different talking points. Players have been injured, players haven't. This one's been a star, that one's been a star. End of the day, we haven't won a league trophy. And then I look at the domestic competitions. Obviously, Champions League's the holy grail. We'd love that. I definitely hope we do that this season. But I think that gets you a bit of credit in the bank. And I think the major point for me with Mikel Arteta would be sometimes I think you're at that point now where I know football's complicated, but you've done all the complicated things. Now I think you need to have a simple approach. Just get someone who can score goals. Just do, make sure you've got the depth, etc., and just get over the line, bro. Just that's it with me with Arteta. I've got a lot more time for him than the board. End of the day, the owners are staying here. Arteta took the job initially. He's signed a new deal, so he thinks that he can achieve within the remit. And like you said, as much as I think it's too cozy and nice and happy to be here at Arsenal, at the end of the day, we spent money. Arteta has been backed. You've been allowed stuff. You've been allowed a lot more than Emre. Of course, the situations were different. Now, I think he's under pressure from the fan base because we want to deliver and whatnot. But for every balanced fan that's asking a question, there's fans that kind of like over defend him type of thing, if that makes sense. Obviously, as you said, he signed a new deal worth 50 mil a year. We just lost Eddie recently. We just got a new sporting director. So on the face of it, I don't want to exaggerate a bit because pressure's a privilege and you're managing a big club, but I don't really feel you're under that much pressure because we're already gearing up to the next season thing. If you were in charge of Arsenal, would you sack him though? Because I know if this was Chelsea, I know what you'd be saying.
Hey, if this was Chelsea, it's difficult because unfortunately, we're not the Chelsea we was, and we're still trying to find our identity under this ownership. If this was Roman Abramovich, he'd be sacked. He would have been sacked a long time ago. Like we would have just said, "Yo, that's back-to-back seconds, bye-bye." But
second place, first loser, unfortunately.
Under this ownership, with the mentality that they've tried to instill with the PR and the briefings and the project, it's not the same Chelsea, and it hasn't been the same Chelsea since they came in, and they've still got to get us back there. So I don't actually think we would sack him either. As a club, as a fan, I would be looking for better. Yeah, I'd be like, right, let's go and get Inzaghi. Let's go and get Simeone. I don't know. Let's go and
I
get
want
someone
Xabi
who's
Alonso, man. I know it never
yeah.
signed for us, but I want these new age managers now. I
Yeah,
can't lie.
Xabi Alonso. Yeah, Xabi Alonso. Just, I would just say, listen, because I do feel like when you've been with a team for a very long time, especially even if you've won, sometimes the players just need a new voice, new ideas, new motivation. It keeps them on their toes. It's not even to say that you're sacking him because the word sack seems very brutal. It's like,
Just
oh,
freshening up the thing.
it's just a freshening up. It's like, what have Arsenal got to lose by getting a new new top manager? They've got nothing to lose by getting a new top manager.
Keeping or sacking doesn't guarantee any success, but at
No,
one point you've got to change doing the same
yeah,
thing, expecting different results.
yeah. I think a lot of people they make the correlation of, oh, if Arsenal sack Arteta, the project's dead. First of all, the project is done. You're
Project's
done with
done, bro.
the
It's
project's
a
done.
new project now, getting over the line, bro.
Like, project finished, house built. Now put furniture in there, make sure it looks
Exactly.
nice,
Get some
and
wallpaper.
yeah, like it's not like he leaves, and I don't think all the players leave. No, they don't. Like, that's not gonna happen. They're under contract. If he leaves, someone else comes in, and you just see maybe a new formation next season. You see new tactics. You see new approach, new ideas. But the actual team is still the same. Saka's still there. Saliba's still there. No one's gonna leave. No one's gonna go. You're just trying to win the Premier League. That is what it is. When the new manager comes in, he is saying from the first press conference, I am here to win the Premier League. That is it. And if we don't do that, it's a failure. And he might set a new mentality in the team. And, I would embrace the change personally, because I'd be excited. I think, unless you make big signings alongside Arteta now, it will be difficult to be excited with the same group or one addition and Arteta again. Do you know what I mean?
I think you're bang on the money, and this is the thing for me. It's like the crucial thing you said is the same kind of voice. Now, I haven't seen the players down tools or anything like that, like I saw to a degree towards the end of Arsene Wenger or obviously Emre, and you've probably seen it with many a manager at Chelsea. I haven't seen that yet, but crucially, I am at that stage, like you put there, like maybe a different kind of voice, maybe get some, because it's exhausting. It's got to be exhausting coming second. It's got to be exhausting putting all the positives into place for these 3 years. Football is very demanding kind of thing. Personally, I feel we dropped the ball in the summer. I like Calafiori. I think he needs to go on a defensive crash course, and he's a fire hazard in that regards, but I'm not going to write off a 22-year-old. But if we're looking at win now mode, Lewis Kelly's keeping you out the team. Moreno, you're not talking to anyone in the front three, in the midfield three. Sorry, by default, you're playing up front. When you went back into midfield against United, it was a myth. So there's another one. The less said about Neto and the less said about your boy Raheem Sterling, the better, really. So I look back at the summer. January, I think Arteta's got to hold that as well. But then I more blame the board, because whether you was, like you said, whether you were suggesting things to Arteta and you was turfing it, if you truly want to win and you see that you need a bit of a boost, even if you do everything, it's very unlikely you're going to beat Liverpool, but you need to the title, but you need to do something. The fact that you did nothing tells me you're cool with top four. You're kind of harping on about players returning from injury. You're probably looking at it in a sinister way, like you finish in the top 5 positions, your thing is good, and it just keeps it moving. And it's a weird one, because I do think Arteta is a good coach. I don't think he's without faults. I think he's a good coach. I do think he will be, I won't quite say high demand, but if he became, or he would have like a plethora of jobs, but if he became available, I do think people would at least ring him and things like that. But the one monkey on his back, as you kept said, and I've been saying, is, bro, you need to win something. Like anytime there's a bit of adversity in terms of sink or swim, whether it's the FA Cup against Man United, whether it's the 2 legs against Newcastle, or this Premier League race, which has never been a race. It's been the worst of the 3. The 2022-23 season, as you said, we were good going forward. Last year, we were solid defensively. This season, it's been either stagnation or regression. People can pick their poison. Either way, even if it's stagnation, you can still fall back. So that's where I kind of look at it. And I do think experience can be overrated, but it can't be overstated, because I look at Klopp from the moment he walked in at Liverpool, even when they had a rugby team, the man were getting in finals. Where I look at Arne Slot, people can say it's the Eredivisie and all these things, bro, but there's a bit of experience that maybe he's gone in there and saying, okay, at this moment in time, I can't change too much. They've done me dirty with the players' deals running down in the transfer window. I just kind of need to make little tweaks. And I think Arteta is learning on the jobs. That has to be ruled out now, because you've been here 6 years and been in 3 title challenges. You said we wanted to get here. And that's why I asked you about the pressure, because I do think if like the pressure was to win at this football club, they might say, Arteta, why are you buying Havertz? Why are you playing Havertz up front? I'm not saying Marino's a bad player, but if it comes to it and we need either floor raisers or ceiling raisers, can you push the boat out? I hope this Berta guy can do stuff for us, but at the end of the day, like, I'm very wary of one man joining in March, looking in the summer and thinking he can change everything alone. Everyone's kind of got to sing from the same hymn sheet. On the topic of ownership, still, wait, go on.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. I think he comes in, and I get that, obviously people are excited, but it depends how much wriggle room he's got, I guess, to actually spend, because that's a lot of people look at the list of signings and they'll say, right, well, he signed these players and that means he's capable of bringing this to us. But what is the balance sheet for Atletico, and what have they made in terms of money and allows him to sign those players financially? And what are you going to do? And are your ownership going to be a bit tight, or are they going to say, wages? I've always said this is the big stumbling block with the striker, is Havertz and Jesus being on 500 and whatever K.
And my man's got ACL now as well. So he's not leaving until next summer.
He ain't passing a medical. So that's, as a collective, that's what they're making. Any striker that comes into Arsenal, they have to demand more than Havertz. It's mandatory. And you've put yourself in that position because Havertz,
and the new deals as well for Saka and that. If they're not earning more than Havertz, you'll be like, listen, man,
Saliba, if Saliba signs, so what are those increase in wages gonna do to the budget? And how are you going to sign a striker for that's better than Havertz, undisputedly, but then pay for wages that are more than Havertz,
and still have to use Havertz as well to some degree, because from a political point of view, you spent peas on him, bro. You're gonna have to use him.
Starting 11 money. For me, it's not even the transfer fee that's the issue, because we all know that's spread over 5 years, book value. You can sell.
Bumped us, but we bumped ourselves, man. But go ahead, bumped ourselves.
The wages is what is the problem, because if you spend a lot of money on a player but they're on low wages and you're willing to take a loss, that's your business. If you're willing to sell for the book value, that's your business. You spread it over 5 years, you take the hit. But one thing you cannot do is move the wage. The wage is the wage, and the player has now become accustomed to that wage. So any clubs coming in, I need this money. All right, you're gonna pay me off. You gotta pay part of my wage on the
facts.
That is something that is much more damning than the fee. But yeah.
I think you're bang on the money, man. And obviously, this is what I mean about things aren't going to just change in one season. Obviously, you could caveat it and say, on one hand, maybe Arsenal need a bit more than just a striker. But I think to the starting 11, there's about 3 players that's needed. And allegedly, I imagine all clubs are laying the groundwork to their signings in the summer. Allegedly, Jason Ito, the interim, has been helping with Zubimendi and all of this. But as you said there, we need to sort out new contracts and the knock-on effects. Also, you need to bring in players. In an ideal world, you make a decision on the Thomas Partey's, the Zinchenko's, the Tierney's of this world. If you haven't already, you're on big money. You bring in, the dream would be Isak, but whether it's Isak, Osimhen, whatever, they're going to be on something handsome. So that's one. Saka, Saliba, Magalhaes, their new deals, and then anything else. So it's a knock-on effect. But this is where I go back to the summer, bro, and I feel Arsenal fans, purely because we're football fans, all the things me and you are talking about owners and all of this is all this new age stuff. We're meant to just care about the football pitch, right? It's all the kind of new things, in it. I just feel fans can be, including myself, can be forgiven for not being excited necessarily, but 2 points off City, bullish chat on the last day of the season, needing just a striker, just a this, just a that. And then that's the fans really hoping that Arteta improves. But then you look at the summer, and like I said earlier, we brought in no level raisers. I do think, rightly so in theory, that there was a bit of a remit to kind of make some money on sales, because we've not really done that really, and we need to get better at that. So I had no problem. You know me, I love Smith Rowe. I didn't want him to go, but I understand it. I hear it, money, FFP, whatever. Same with Eddie Nketiah, the same with a loan for Fabio Vieira. My issue is that you let the bodies go. You didn't bring anybody in. Even with everybody fit, even in the summer, with everyone fit and no one leaving, I still thought the squad was too short. Arteta at numerous points last season said we got one of the smallest squads, right? And I believe that. You've got a squad of 17, 18, maybe 19 max trying to compete in 4 trophies. The maths isn't mathing. So we kind of, when I look at it, and obviously selling Ramsdale, it seems like the club are not as ambitious as maybe Arteta, because I do think he's ambitious for all his faults, and definitely us fans. That's why for me, I've kind of had to temper my kind of expectations. You said it there, why do you think, if you was to look at Arteta's signings, Raya, Ramsdale did well for a point, Raya did well. Basically, the defensive third, and that'll push maybe the middle third. I know Odegaard's not flavour of the month, but Odegaard, Rice, Partey, I would say the defensive and middle third's been all right. The final third has been the issue. Why do you think there's been a reluctance to sign a forward? Why do you think, why do you think we haven't signed the forward? What do you think he wants from a striker? And why is it taking so long? Because our best attacker, fair enough, is Saka, but essentially he's a Haylender. The next one is probably now Wanyeri, who is a Haylender.
Yeah.
Obviously, Trossard was at a point was giving us a bang for our buck. And ironically, we only got him because you lot gazumped us for Mudryk. But like, why do you think there's a reluctance to go for that forward?
Just can you imagine if you signed Mudryk and Mudryk had not played to the level, right? And he was just
Talent
meaty.
ID stinky.
He's just meaty like he's been for us. I mean, that would have been compounding on top of, you know what I mean? It would have been
Scary,
insane. Bro, it's mad. So I feel like Arteta doesn't want Mavericks. He doesn't seem to want someone that's unpredictable as a character and also as a footballer. I look at the players that you've signed, and they're very much they're easy to manage. You know, they seem very easy to manage. They're very you know, they're introverts in the way that they play. They're not expressive. It's about control. It's about having every single detail, you know, completely accounted for, and there's no room for there's no room for a jack in the box, a wild card. Oh shit, no one saw that coming. A little bit of, you know, when the fans get off their seats at once, and you can hear the seats all moving. That there's nobody like that, and I do feel like that's by design. I personally
100%.
I personally ain't trying to see none of that, because listen, football is about the best, watching the best, especially in the attack. The defense, 100%, lock it up, block it up with 6'5" 4s, great defenders, stable defensive midfielders. I get it, but at some point you got to throw in a couple of Mavericks, even if it is. And I've said this before, because I feel like Rice is best in a pivot. I've said this for a while. I think the way that
he's making him an 8 though, man.
Yeah, the way he's able to carry the ball, yes, he's able to cross, he's able to shoot, but at the same time, he's not a line breaker, to say the least. He's a Nemanja Matic kind of pivot next to a Zubimendi. But then who's the 10? If it's not Wanyeri, because you're looking after him, Odegaard, he's not the creator. He's more of a dictator,
facilitator kind of
Ryan
guy,
Cherky.
Pass before the pass.
Bro, Ryan Cherky. And I'm not saying Ryan Cherky has to bench Odegaard, but can you imagine? Low block, last 20 minutes, you're bringing on Ryan Cherky. Both-footed, Santi Cazorla. Hips are swiveling, swerving, bro.
But you said it there, like he's not he's not a controllable guy. Two, he's too random in the system football. Like it's a pipe dream, us getting him.
But that is what
he's everything.
That's what Arsenal are about. And again, it's not to say, oh, he has to start and how is he going to work off the ball? I get all that. But just give yourself one Maverick, give yourself one option. So then when you do need something out of the blue and it is getting stable, it is getting stale, in he comes to make something happen. Any angle, any pass, any dribble, any carry, he's got it in his locker. And it's just players like that I feel like a lot of managers in these days, systematic, managers, they don't want those type of players. It's a shame, because those are the type of players that can change everything for you if you use them right. But yeah.
And that's the thing, man. I feel it's being lost, because the players will always you could caveat that and say the systems have always been there, like 4-3-3 has always been there at certain clubs, and you can caveat that and say the individuals still make the games, but it's never been more system based. Like Odegaard's primary job is how he ties into the system rather than what he does from a selfish individual kind of point. The same with Bukayo Saka. The system is geared for Saka, like moving inside and whatnot, even down to Martinelli holding the whip, for whoever's on the left hand side holding the whip, and like you mentioned, Declan Rice running. And I just think Arteta is that. I do think he's going to have to learn to manage Mavericks and bad attitudes, quote unquote. You could say he managed it with Aubameyang, and then obviously Shaw broke the camel's back. But naturally, typically, good players are going to have a bit of that, and you have to give them a bit of leeway. What do you think of? Because I feel... Go on.
On your point, on your point.
No, keep going. I was just going to ask you something else. Go on.
Yeah, you see, there was a moment against Man United, right, where the ball went down the left, and Odegaard was in the right channel of midfield. And it was so natural to just be like, do you know what? I'm the most attack-minded midfielder. The ball's gone out wide to the left. The player's running onto it. There's no one near him. There's no support. I'm going to go over there and I'm going to help him and link up. And you see Bellingham do it for Madrid. You see Rodrigo, Vinny switch flanks, and Mbappe drift in, and they go together as a cluster. They do a little couple link up, switch it out, ball. There's a bit of freedom. This brother was looking over his shoulder at the right wing when the ball was on the left. He's like, damn, am I standing in the right? He's like, am I standing in the right place? Am I close to my right winger? Brother, the left winger is the one that needs the help. Can you not go over there and then the other midfielder see you over there and move and say, right, what's going on with the
Facts.
freedom? Do
Facts.
you know what I mean?
Do you think Odegaard's hiding? Like, do you think not only that? Yeah, do you think Odegaard's hiding? And on one hand, I hear it. You're just doing what the manager's telling you to do, and you got to be disciplined and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, but do you think maybe not even necessarily just with Arsenal? Do you think players at times should deviate from the system or show a bit of responsibility and randomness, as much as it's a double-edged sword?
I would love to say yes, but we don't know what these managers are saying to them at halftime and in the dressing room and on the training ground. They might be saying, listen, guys, you need to do, they might be really militant. They might say, listen, you need to do exactly what I'm telling you to do. And if you don't do what I'm telling you to do, I'm dropping you. And that's it. And when you kick that, when you really get into a player's psyche day in, day out, every day at training, and you tell them this over and over again, it can become just automized for them, where they have forgotten their own freedom, their own expression, their own way of play. I'm sure Odegaard, if given the lease to go to the left, he would go. I really do think he would. But I think over time you can really, and this is what they do, right? They get into your head and they say, right, this is what I do. And he's been there for years. And now it's like, you have to, it's like being out in a normal job. You work with the same boss for that long, and they've got a way of doing things.
Right.
You start doing it and you forget that you can do it a different way. I think that's what it is. I don't think he's limited to not being able to do that, but it's not too late. It's just got to that point now where he knows his job and he does his job, and that's that, you know.
I think you're bang on the money, man. I think both of our teams are kind of on brand in that neither fan bases are happy. But when you speak of Maresca and Arteta, they're kind of similar. They're the new age managers. They wear the nice tracksuits and they're very particular and mercurial in how they approach things. Yeah. What do you think of these things, man? Because Chelsea I'm starting to hear it with Chelsea, phase this, phase that. Well, obviously the poster boys of phases. What do you mean with what do you think of that phase stuff, man?
It's marketing, it's PR, it's something they're selling you, you know, because they wouldn't be saying it so often and putting it out there if they weren't trying to sell it to you, the people. They want you to get on board with
Selling
that. Because,
hope, man.
yeah, because it buys them more time, you know, it buys them more time to say this is the long-term vision, this is the plan. Now, if they do it properly, then fair enough. You can have a project. You can have, we'll build brick by brick, but just make sure you're building correctly, because if you're not building anything. And then when we get to the cutoff point where even the most project-led fan has said, right, it's been 5 years now, what you got for me? You ain't got nothing? Okay, now it's problems. But really, if you do it, if you're not coming into a decimated, terrible team, you should be able to sort that situation out in 4 windows in 2 years, you know, max. It's not rocket science. People sometimes, these guys like to overcomplicate football.
Overcomplicate this.
You need a top keeper, you need a top striker, you need a good balanced midfield with defense and goals in it, and you need leaders and defenders. Now, if you don't have any of these things, you might have to build it in house. You might have to take your time going to get the right players, but it shouldn't be taking 5 years. And come on, what is this, man? Do you know what I mean? It's not. You're not. I've seen Villa go from 17th under Gerrard to Champions League. I've seen Newcastle go from wherever they were to Champions League. I've seen Forest 17th to Champions League, and you're trying to tell me a team that was already in and amongst the
top only 1 year, but slot.
Yeah, slot. And I'm seeing a team that was already in Champions League, already in the outskirts of Champions League, stability, and they can't get themselves to winning a league or being up there in a couple of years. I think they're having us on a little bit, but yeah, if you're building a project, you just need to make sure you get it right, because you are wasting people's time a little bit. You know what I mean? You are taking liberties, so just make sure you're doing it properly, because if you're not, now you're really just playing too many games.
I mean, I'm moaning about the Cronkies and my ownership and whatnot, yeah. But as an outsider, what are you lot protesting and whatnot about? Like, you spent £1 billion odd, you're getting all the players playing real life Football Manager. Your owners got deep. Fair enough, you could argue that it's not being done in the right way. But if you throw enough money or shit at a wall, it's gonna stick. And I think his intentions there. Like, why aren't you lot happy with the owners of your football club and everything that's going on, man? Like, paint a picture for us that us non-Chelsea fans, man, we don't know what's going on over there.
So with the billion spent, when they took over from Roman, we went through a process and it was fast tracked because obviously it was outside factors that were influencing the takeover and the sale and the UK government and all that kind of stuff. So because of that, the sale was rushed, which means it wasn't done in the time frame really that it would.
Money's still frozen in the UK account, apparently.
And it was like eBay. Chelsea are up on eBay. And, you know, put your bids in. This is the asking price. And then when the bid goes over the asking price, we just go and keep going. And basically, once we got over the asking price, or once we got to the asking price, they started adding in factors. And one of those factors was you've got to spend $1 billion within the first 10 years and show that you're going to invest and you're going to improve the facilities or you're going to invest in the squad, because they didn't want someone to come in with the intentions of, oh, we've got the club now, we ain't going to spend a penny.
Doing the Glazer thing, or to a degree what we've got.
You can't take out dividends like the Glazers, all these kind of things. So these things were put in place to try and narrow down the amount of owners that were trying to buy us and get to the real one, right? And that's what they did. So the billion spent, for me, the first billion that has been spent is very much mandatory, very much part of the takeover money, because you had to do it. And they've just chosen to not do it over 10 years. They've chosen to do it in 2 years or 2.5. That's their decision. But that, for me, you don't get credit for spending the money you had to spend. You've chosen to spend it.
That's a good point.
You've chosen to spend it quickly. You've chosen to spend about 250 million of that on very young players for a multi-club model or for sell on, and for that's your decision. You've spent 250 or 215 of that on 2 players. You know, so when we talk about $1 billion, I'm already accounting for about 400 of that on 2 midfielders and young players like that you've not even heard of, Washingtons and
from you sound a Brazilian called Washington, you lot got bumped. I can't lie.
Cassadays and Chukwuemeka's. You lot don't even know what's going on with that money, right? And then the rest of it is first team. But the reason why we're onto them is because there's a lot of little subplots going on. You've got Vivid Seats with Todd Bowley, where he has got a conflict of interest, where he owns or he's part of a company in America that basically sell tickets at extortionate prices, for foreign fans to come to Stamford Bridge.
Americanization settings.
So, that's a conflict of interest. You're meant to be trying to stop ticket touting. You're meant to be bringing the prices to a respectable level for the everyday.
But you don't care because I'm getting paid either way.
Exactly. You're having your cake and eating it. That's how
literally.
Yeah. So that's a problem. We're looking at the way that they've spent the money and the fact that they're trying to almost prioritize buying young players, but not to develop them, because some of them are going, into the under 23s, or some of them are going on loans that don't make sense, rush to loans. They're doing it to just, stockpile and sell on. We don't want to be a club that is just focused on that. And also it's the mismanagement of the money in the first place, because how can you spend this amount of money and then we go through this spine and you don't have what you need? You don't have a top keeper. You don't have a striker that can bang 20 goals.
You lot's keepers are shit.
You don't have a goal scoring winger. You have to be accountable for what you spend. That's why I get onto the directors a lot, because I feel like even within the restrictions that the ownership give with the wage structure, I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. Liverpool have had that, right? It's not Roman, it's not Chelsea, it's not Man City, or
7-8 year deals as well.
It's not Man United, but I don't want a wage structure like Man United. I don't want players to be overpaid and have no motivation to play. So I understand that. I understand that we've got a budget now, and we're not, we haven't got Roman to just take the debt
bankroll
away.
Everything.
Yeah, bankroll everything. I understand that. So we've only got a 42k capacity stadium. I understand that. So yes, things are going to be different. I'm not expecting us to just dash 100 million. I would actually like us to have spent less. I think we've spent too much. Why have we spent all this money? Why is it every window we need to buy 6-7 players? I only want 2-3. I said this last time. I say it again. Just get what you need and get out. Don't do all this extra kerfuffle.
When you cut corners, you got to do bare things.
Exactly. These guys, they get themselves roped into PSR, and they get themselves in, agent-led deals with George Mendes, and there's a lot of nepotism going on with players that used to play for the same club as the scout, and it's all too convenient and too much of a coincidence. There's too much nonsense going on, and it's not a focus on the football. And if they just focused on the football from when they came in And they didn't have an ego of we're gonna just rip up the place, change up the whole medical team, sack everyone, bring everyone in. We've already sacked like 2 CEOs since these guys have come in. You know,
Yeah.
we don't have a front of shirt sponsor. So when you're talking about making cuts and to costs, what about the money from the front of shirt sponsor that's meant to be contributing? You know, you're looking at the PR, the messaging that comes out. Champions League is ahead of schedule. The manager said we only need to make it next season. This season we didn't need to make Champions League.
That sounds like a loser thing, I can't lie.
That's what I'm saying. This is what's building up all of the anger and frustration. Do I think that, and I've said this before, do I think that we're going to get the owners out this summer or next summer or this? No, we're not. So for me, that's why I've always said, listen, you can 100% be angry at the ownership. I understand that. I agree with the anger. But the directors who have spent 1 point whatever billion on this team, and the team is not ready, and the team is not ready, and the team is not balanced, and the team has got too many 10s, not enough strikers, all these basic errors. If they didn't mess that up with the mandatory money, and we were second, and we had what we needed, even
still paying Sterling's wages, or the majority of them as well.
If we had simply spent that money better, a lot of these extra other factors that people are not happy with that exists in all ownership. Arsenal releasing tracksuits, taking the piss all the time.
Oh, every week, mate. Surprised we ain't dropped one today.
Yeah, we wouldn't be talking about it, because as much as football fans, yes, we do want to make sure everything is being done to the level and what we want. At the end of the day, the football pitch is what is emotionally deciding whether we're happy or we're sad. If we're winning, we're fine. If we're not, we're not. And that is it. At the end of the day, all these other things matter. All these other things are poor business. They're not even doing the business side the way they should be, let alone the footballing side. But the footballing side always dictates how people are feeling. Simple. And Liverpool fans are a great example of that, because they got 3 contracts running out. They didn't spend any money in the summer. They were pissed, a lot of them. But
fumbled January as well from a recruitment point of view.
But they're winning. So
their owners are laughing, because they're winning, especially after replacing Klopp.
So it's calmer. It's calmer. If Liverpool had not signed anyone, were 4th, players were running out of contract.
Vex.
If Slot weren't doing his magic, if Van Dijk and Salah weren't handling business, if they were 4th with exactly the same ownership structure, they would be losing their heads. Shit would be going left. It's all, if you're winning, everybody shuts up. And we're not in a position to do that because of the way that things have been constructed. But that's what it is. For me, these directors, if we don't make Champions League this season, and I don't trust them even if we do make Champions League, but if we don't make Champions League, objectively, they should be sacked straight away, because they've hired the manager, they've brought in the players, they've spent the money.
And everyone that's had the connection to City as well.
Yeah.
It has worked, to be fair, of all the recruitment policies.
Yeah, City, Monaco, and Brighton. Those are our 3 favorite places to pick from. Where are our scouts from? Joe Shields, City, Paul Winstanley, Brighton, and Lawrence Stewart, Monaco. These are the 3 clubs we've
picked all making sense
from. It makes sense, of course. It's easy. So yeah, for me, they shouldn't be here next season. If we're serious, we get a new sporting director at the very least, and we make sure that whatever money we do have left, it goes to a person that has experience at the top level, at a top club. I wanted a Luis Campos because I knew we wouldn't get.
So did I. Apparently, you lot are still in for him. Actually,
yeah, we won't get him. But on top of getting a new sporting director, that would have to mean that the owners are not happy with the sporting directors, and that's the issue. They are fine with the sporting directors. They see it as they're doing exactly what they want them to do. They are difficult to work with because they're always putting their 2 pence in. That's why probably a Campos wouldn't join, an Nagelsmann didn't want to join, and Enrique didn't want to join. So that's why the ownership is targeted, and it's understandable, because they are the part of the reason as to why we can't bring in the best in class, because the way they work is very different to how a normal football club should operate. So
I think it's a weird one, because I think obviously fans are going to be a lot more bullish and whatnot than owners. And yeah, to be fair to the owners, we're not owners of football clubs. We don't know how to run it. A lot of fans will probably run their clubs into the ground. But I think bar probably Newcastle and what Newcastle are becoming, Manchester City, I don't think and maybe a couple, 1-2 other examples, I don't think anyone's necessarily happy with their ownership and whatnot. You lot are not. Obviously, the ambitions there, multi-club structure, money. If they just change things, I think you lot could change your tune. But at the end of the day, you lot are allowed to feel how you feel. I feel Arsenal fans, Spurs fans, Liverpool fans, Chelsea fans, obviously. There's very Spurs, if I haven't said that, United, even with their new ones. I think there's very few fans that actually like their owners of their football clubs. So it kind of is what it is. So then, where are you at with Maresca?
Maresca is
And you lot were in a title challenge, I don't think we've forgotten, Just because Madueke was saying, no, we're taking someone down with us.
Listen, I said from the get-go, we're not in the race, because for me, the race is you have to be there with 10 games to go, because that for me is the race. That is the race. That is when you can say, right, we are in top 4. Because if you're 10 games to go in the title race, you don't need to think about top 4 anymore, because you've already been there and done that. And that was always my priority. Make sure you've got top 4 wrapped up early, which would have been a big step up for this club.
In that now as well.
We've not made Champions League comfortably in a long time. So for us to achieve mid-70s in terms of points, that's a massive jump. If you look at Chelsea's points tallies over the last 3-4 years, mid-70s is a massive jump from even before this ownership, Roman, So for me, I always said, let's not run before we walk, because what we're trying to do is not something that's been done for a while at our club. We always leave it to the last day. I remember we lost to Villa. I remember we beat Wolves. We always leave it to the last day, even under Roman and Tuchel. And that was a far better team. So let's not get ahead of ourselves. I knew we weren't in it, and unfortunately I was proven to be right, because I knew this team. I knew that they weren't ready. But the manager, for me, I look at him as someone that was fast-tracked from Leicester. In a normal circumstance, if clubs are not so obsessed with, being ahead of the curve, with signing 17-year-old players, when really usually in Brazil, you'd let them get to 2021 like Neymar and then move to Barcelona. Because now everybody's trying to get ahead of schedule with Brightons and Bournemouths. They're trying to make sure they get there before them, so they're not charged extortionate prices later on. I get it. Managers are the same now. We was linked to Kieran McKenna. We were linked to Vincent Kompany, with Maresca. Everybody, fast track them. So it's difficult for me to be angry with him, because I never expected him to be ready. It's a shot in the dark. It's a hope with him, but he's got lost a little bit in his presses. It's very clear that he's a parrot. He's there to speak for the ownership. He doesn't want to go against them, because of course, if you go against your ownership and you start talking out of turn, you get sacked. And
like our manager.
But we should have known that when he came in. He's a head coach. He's not a manager. They hired him for a
reason.
He'll
become a manager soon. Look at my guy. Like, as long as he just gets you lot ticking, he'll get the manager thing.
Maybe. But so it's annoying to listen to the contradictions in his quotes. And 1 minute we're not expected Champions League. I wasn't told that. Now, we need to get it, because someone must have told me I need it. I'm not interested in all that. I know what you're doing and what you're about. Yeah, fuck all that. What are you doing on the pitch? The guy at the start of the season, bro, was so proactive. He was so ready to make change on the pitch if something's not going right. He was managing things. But at the end of the day, Conference League was a facade. It has always been a facade. We did not.
If you don't win that spray,
we were blowing smoke up our own arse, man. We're beating plumbers, beating electricians, beating.
Didn't even register Cole Palmer until recently, so you weren't taking it serious.
Bro, we're beating these teams and everybody's getting game time. We're thinking, we got an A team, B team, everybody's happy. No, let's get to the winter period. This is the period where Chelsea always struggle. Let's get to the part of the season where the Conference League players actually have to come into the Premier League squad and contribute. Let's get to the point where now there's some rotation. And this is where things go left, because this is where the drop-off is. And he's made some weird decisions in playing Gusto left back when he had Vega, maybe. He's made some late subs when he should have been more proactive. But he's Maresca, he's young. This is his first big job. This is first.
Sounds like my manager, man.
Surprise me.
They're both from the same school of Pep as well.
Yeah, it's like if this was Inzaghi, if this was Diego Simeone, I could be like, yo, come on. Why are you doing this? Why? I'm so angry. I expect the best. You have been there and done it. Do better.
You got the CV.
This guy, I just have to say, I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed at times, because it's like, I can't get angry